Tell me, what are some of the benefits and what are some of the drawbacks to self-storage?
Yeah, you just mentioned a couple, and it's one of the reasons why you build these things, and it's asphalt, it's steel, it's concrete, it's a little bit of electric wiring. It's I could build 100,000 square foot facility with one or two toilets. So you can't do that with a residential apartment building, especially ground up with say you're going to have 100 kitchens, 100 bathrooms, or 200 bathrooms. And so the ease of building, it's much easier to build self storage. And then there's the tenant principles, right? During COVID,
Hmm.
I was carrying 100 single family rental properties, and we lost tons of rent over that course of 2 years. That wasn't affected in self storage. Self storage is considered a commercial rental, so they're really, you're not really dealing with consumers per se like you are in a residential property. So the laws are different. There was no COVID law saying that they didn't have to pay their rent for 18 months. You didn't pay your rent, you got locked out. And so there's that. And then the turnover, right? How many times does somebody move out of a single family home and cost us $5,000 to $15,000 to renovate it, to put another tenant back in place? And good luck getting that money. It's not easy, right? Where and, you just mentioned it in storage. If somebody leaves their stuff, okay, it gets auctioned off. Most likely, all you're going to have to do is sweep out their unit and then move somebody else in an hour later. And so, I'm not saying that, again, that residential or multifamily isn't a great thing. I still have many apartment buildings, and in fact, I'm looking at buying more. But I think that diversification and being in multiple asset classes is also a good thing.
There's no purple shag carpeting that's going to go out of style.
Hmm.
Which it never will. But it's just like you said, a sweep. No tiles, no paint. Nothing goes out of style. Nothing really. I mean, uh, and what it was a good thing you mentioned too was about I hadn't considered that about the moratorium on rents and well evictions. Hadn't considered that, but yeah, that's an incredible thought there.
Well, you just reminded me of one more thing too, is that you have usually the same size facility where I might have 700 tenants. In an apartment complex the same size, it might be 80 or 100 tenants. So you also have
Hmm.
diversification of tenancy, right? So if you lose 10% in an apartment building, that might justify 8 or 10 units. For us to lose 10%, we'd have to lose 60 or 70 units. So there's also that principle of just diversifying your income streams too.
So are you building these ground up? Are you renovating old mom and pops, like doing basically a burr on uh, existing uh, storage facilities? And are you holding them yourself? Are you or is this where you build and sell?
There's really there's two primary ways that we've done it, and then we continue to do it. One, our main method is ground up. I love developing ground up. I can design the right product. I can design the right unit mix. I can design, how many climate control, non-climate control. We can create different size garage bays depending on whether there's a lot of RVs in the area or boats, that type of thing. So my primary is always develop from ground up and build what we need because we know it's going to fit the location. That being said, we've also done big box conversions where we bought an old Kmart and we gutted it out and we converted it to a storage, and created multiple pad sites around it. That was a 21-acre site. But I'm looking at either one of those two. And to answer your secondary question, yeah, I mean, is certainly a kind of a burr method. Our goal is to get 100 facilities in the next 10 years. So we're going to continue to add to the portfolio. That doesn't mean that we haven't sold some and that we won't sell some along the way. But our long term vision is to get to 100 units and then assemble them and sell them off to, the hedge funds or the REITs.